And welcome to another edition of the Investor Guys podcast. I'm Kevin Mills. This gentleman here with that snappy tie, by the way, is
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bill Barnett. We've had
Hello, everybody.
a lot of catching up to do this morning before we got in on the show. If you guys watched our last now, first of all, if you guys think you're going crazy because you didn't see a show on Thursday, it is because Bill had some last minute travel plans and we did not do a show on Thursday. So we apologize for that. But it's not you not being crazy.
My fault.
And it happens sometimes. So don't worry about it if you can't find it because it doesn't exist. So our Thursday show for last week wasn't there. However, if you watched our Tuesday show, we talked about our personal challenges and our personal goals of working towards being billionaires versus multimillionaires. And we've both done massive amounts of work towards that these past week. And it's not been hard work. It's been fun work. You know, it's just changing the steps. So here's the thing.
Yep.
You've got X amount of things that you do every single day in your life, whether it's for work or family or anything else. It's just a matter of changing or adding a few additional things to your day in order to put you on the path that you need to be on, whether you want to be a multimillionaire or whether you want to be a billionaire. Just adding certain things into your day, getting things done every day and every week that are going to put you in that direction on that path. And I call it a punch list. Now, to me, it's a mental punch list, but there are people who actually have, you know, a piece of paper. My wife is one of those people. She actually writes things down and she puts a check mark next to it. Okay. And whatever works for you. Okay. For me, if I wrote that piece of paper down in an hour, I would have no idea where it is. Okay. So whatever works for you, she carries it around. It's all folded up and usually within a week, it looks all mangled up and she's like rewriting it. And that's what works for her. Mental or physical, put together a punch list of things that you have to do, mark them off and know what you need to do next. And a lot of times it's things that you have to do in order because you can't do one without getting the other done. Something you can do whenever. Make that punch list and start checking those boxes off. Okay. And whether it's a mental or physical, just do an assessment periodically every other day and say, you know what, where am I in getting this next box clicked off?
Yeah.
Why didn't I get that thing done that I planned on getting done 2 days ago? And why am I not getting it done today? Hold yourself accountable. And if you're in a relationship or if you've got friends or anything else, let them hold you accountable. Let them know what you're doing. Okay. Share your steps and your goals. Share what you want to get done. Bill and I we don't really hold each other accountable, like as far as a formal situation, but we talk about what we're doing and we talk about what we're planning. We talk about what we're trying to accomplish and we check up on each other. You know, how you coming on this? How you coming on that? And I have a wife who's going to say, you know, how are you coming with this? How is this coming along? Have somebody that's going to hold you accountable, because you're going to find that not only you're like, oh, I don't want them nagging me about it. It's not going to be a nagging. You're going to say, you know what, I need to make sure I get this done because if so-and-so asked me about it, I want to tell them that it got done. Okay.
Yep.
And if that's your mentality, you're going to get it done. You're going to get it accomplished. If you're looking for excuses for reasons not to do it, or for reasons to tell that person that you didn't get it done, you're never going to get it done because you have not accomplished that mindset or setting your mind to getting those things done. So the difference between checking off those boxes, whether it's buying a cup of coffee or getting the electric bill paid or calling somebody to shampoo the carpet, or those steps that you need to take for becoming a real estate investor, for becoming a millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire, different boxes, but you have to put them in there. You have to get them checked. You have to get them done, or you're not going to get to where you want to be. And again, you have to hold yourself accountable. It's nice to have other people to hold you accountable as well. Anything you want to add on that, Bill?
Yeah, and it's a different skill set to becoming a millionaire. There's a different skill set from once you're a millionaire, growing your business, scaling your business to 1 to 10. And then there's a different set going from 10 to 100, and there's a different set going from 100 to a billion. And you have to, focus is so incredibly important. Now, one of the greatest books I've ever read on focus is my buddy Mark Victor Hansen wrote. a book called The Power of Focus. And I think I've mentioned it on the show before, but I highly, highly, highly recommend it, because what you focus on is what's going to grow. I was at a training event, a mentoring event for me attending, not teaching. I was attending because Kevin and I both go through, I'm not bragging when I say this, so don't think of it that way. But so far this year, I've already spent $55,000 on mentorships for me. And I've got another one that I'm about to enter into. That's another 30 grand. So mentorships, masterminds, coachings, consultings for me. So when I go talk to somebody about, hey, you need to get a consultant working in your business, and that could be Kevin, that could be me. Oh, you're just trying to, no, we believe in this stuff. We practice this. Not only do we teach it, do we do it from an execution standpoint, but we do it ourselves. So I was at a great 4-day event this past week. Spent some time with Tony Robbins, which wasn't a Tony Robbins event, but I spent about 6.5 hours with Tony Robbins, which was pretty amazing, and just some amazing trainers who are at a different level than I am. And Tony talked about, Tony's now owns over 100 businesses, and the total gross sales per year of his joint businesses is 8 billion. That's a big number. But one of the things that he constantly talked about, as did this guy who just turned down $1 billion offer literally last week for his company, who's will do about 180 million this year. If you know anything about mergers and acquisitions, depending on the net value or the net cash the company creates on a yearly basis, is the multiple that you get for what your company will sell for. In his industry, he's easily getting 5 to 7 times what the net is, and it's called EBITDA for those of you that are in the play. And so his EBITDA number comes out to over $1 billion. And so he got offered $1 billion for the deal and decided to turn it down because of some significant growth things that they were introducing there while we were there, or while I was there, which is pretty amazing. But that's a company. So for those of you that try to wrap your mind around $1 billion and, oh, gee, I could never do that, blah, blah, blah. Well, last year, one of the guys that was at this very same event was Tom Bilyeu. Tom Bilyeu is the guy that founded Quest Nutrition Bars. He founded it at 0, and within 4.5 years, sold it for $1 billion. This guy that put on the event, his company turned 7 years old while we were there. That was their anniversary. And so in 7 years, they went from 0 to being offered $1 billion, he and his partner, $1 billion for their company. And it's a company that has an incredibly high spread. We're way over.
We are.
So we'll talk
Let's take
about
a break
this
and we'll talk about that
back.
when we get back.
Yep.
We are back. Now, one of the things that Bill and I were talking about before we started today was Tony Robbins. He was talking about Tony Robbins because he saw Tony this weekend. I actually met somebody this weekend who works for Tony. Ironically, Tony lives right here in Palm Beach with me. And we had talked about the difference between millionaire and billionaire. Where I live now, where I used to live in California, was definitely very, very affluent, but it was multimillionaires. I honestly can't think of off the top of my head any neighbors that were billionaires. There were people who in California absolutely who are billionaires. I didn't have neighbors who were billionaires. Now I live out here in Palm Beach, and I literally have neighbors down the street who are billionaires, multi-billionaires. Tony, I looked up his net worth, by the way, not a billionaire yet, Okay. He has businesses that are worth billions of dollars.
He is from a not a cash standpoint.
His net worth was, I'm not gonna say what his net worth was because
It's incredibly high.
it's too close. But yeah, but it wasn't a billion. And the difference between where my situation is, and this is why I put this offer out, not this offer, but this kind of semi-challenge out to Bill last week, was let's go from being multimillionaires to being billionaires, because I'm literally rubbing elbows now with billionaires. I literally, when I drive around, and you guys who haven't been to Miami, who haven't been to Palm Beach, you may not be able to picture this, but I will sit at a light next to a Bugatti on either side. Okay. We're talking about cars that cost $1 million. Okay. We went car shopping this weekend and we ended up at the Rolls-Royce dealership because my wife was wanting the Bentley SUV. She actually changed her mind after she saw it. But she wants to go from the G-Wagon to the Bentley SUV, although she changed her mind. We went car shopping, and when you go to the Rolls-Royce dealership here, it's not like one or two Rolls-Royces like what you would see in a lot of other Rolls-Royce dealerships. There are 30, 40, 50 cars, there's 20 cars just in the showroom. Okay. Yeah. It's not the same paradigm as what you would see until you're thrust into this. And maybe that's the motivation that I needed. Okay. Whatever motivation is that you have that gets you to that point. But I'm literally sitting, sandwiched now between Bugattis and McLarens, and it's just not unusual. And I'm thinking to myself, if I wanted to buy a handful of those cars, that cuts into my net worth. Okay. But if I have billions of dollars, I could buy a handful of those cars and it's not a big deal. And that actually brings me to one of the things that I wanted to, and I'll let you go ahead and continue on here. One of the things that I wanted to point out, just to put this into perspective, okay, and you're going to like this. 1 million seconds is 11 days. Okay. So if you take 1 million seconds, it's 11 days. 1 billion seconds, 1 billion is 31 and a half years. That is the difference. So imagine those being dollars. Okay. The difference between 11 days and 31 and a half years. That is significant. And $1 million may seem like a lot, and it is, but if you can make $1 million, you can make $1 billion.
It's the 4-minute mile. It's the 4-minute mile. Yeah. It was impossible till Bannister did it, and now it's just a plateau. It's just a mark for people who are serious runners. It's a mark. It's a mark.
Yeah, and it could be that you want to buy a Bugatti. Okay, it could be that you move to a neighborhood like mine where you've got billionaires in their houses that never come to their houses. Whatever that motivation is for you, and it could be what it was for me before, and it still is making a better life for my family. Having something to pass on to my children, having something to leave to my grandchildren. That used to be my motivation, and it still is. It's still part of my motivation. But now, why not leave them more? Why not be able to give them more of a legacy moving on? So you were on a train of thought before we went to this break. Go ahead and you had a story you wanted to share too that has everything to do with mindset and setting your mind, your former partner.
So I had the great honor and privilege to be business partners with a man named Jim McEachern. Jim McEachern was the former president of a custom clothing company called the Tom James Company. So they're a national company. Tom James does $250 million a year in business. They have sales reps that will come out to your office or your home and build you suits and ties and stuff. And so they're a custom clothing. They do women's clothes as well. So, but their focus is they do the executive at his office. So I had the great privilege. Jim came to one of my events, sat in the very front, didn't say a word. The event's a 3-day event. The event's over with. He goes back to the back and sees the staff, and he has his credit card out, and he says, "Here, I want to do that thing with Bill." And they're like, well, so we have a lot of different things. And he goes, yeah, the thing where I work with Bill. And she's like, okay, so are you talking consulting? He goes, yeah. And she goes, so Mr. McEachern, the low level on that is 30,000. And he goes, yeah, here. And so he and I are having lunch about 3-4 weeks later. And he said, Bill, I want to be in business with you. And I said, well, Jim, you are. We're consulting clients. He goes, no. I want to be in business with you. I don't want to be just your client. I want to be in business with you. And of course, through this time, I had learned an awful lot about him. And at the time, I was about to buy DFW Properties, which I bought in 2010. I was literally negotiating from the owner of DFW to buy the business. And if you remember, this is a great sidebar note for you guys, and then we'll pick this up after the break. Great sidebar note. The best time to buy something is when the value is down. What was going on with the real estate market in 2010? It was in the middle of complete disaster, thanks to Obama. It was in the middle of complete disaster. And so my friends were going, why in the world would you buy a real estate company? Real estate's in the toilet. I'm like, well, yeah, that's when you buy. So let's take a break here. We'll come back and we'll finish Mr. Jim McEachern.
And we are back, and Jim was telling us about his good friend and longtime business partner, or long ago business partner, I guess, Mr. Jim McEachern. Go ahead and finish that story that you were telling me.
So I asked Jim, I said, well, Jim, the thing that I would be interested in is I want to talk to you a little bit about what I can learn from you. So if it's just the money you want to bring in half the money on something I'm doing, don't be offended. I don't need you for that. I want to know what I can learn from you. And he said, okay, well, I've worked with salespeople for many years and I'm greatly successful with it. What do you want to ask me? And I said, what is the biggest mistake that you made at Tom James? And he started laughing. He goes, nobody's ever asked me that. Nobody has ever asked me that question. Everybody always asks me, tell me your biggest success. What were the things that you did that were home runs? He said, but nobody's ever asked me that. And I said, well, that's where I focus on, because I can easily identify and see the success points. You're on the inside. I don't get to see the failures or the mistakes. And I said, so what was it? And he said, I set our sights, our goals too small. When I took over the company and when he was made president, they were doing $168,000 a year. They're now doing over $250 million. They were doing, Jim took up to 248 million a year, plants in 13 countries. And they've continued to grow since then. Jim passed away about 5 years ago from a stroke. But so we were going through this. He said, look, when I set the goal, the first goal I set for the company was $100 million. And I set that goal when we're doing 168,000 a year. I called all of the employees. We had a company-wide meeting where I introduced them to this $100 million goal. And he said, Bill, I had people that work for me. I'm the president. They work for me, who laughed out loud in my face when I announced this goal. And I said, wow. And he goes, most of them didn't last very long, not because they laughed in my face. They didn't last very long because they didn't buy into the vision. And they said, you have to be a part of the vision to keep the motivation up. And I said, okay, great. So he said, but the biggest mistake I made was we set 100, we went to $250 million. Said, but what I should have done was said we were going to be $1 billion corporation, because I realized it too late in my presidency. I was too close to retirement, but I realized that just as easily we could have become $1 billion corporation. That was all on me and the mindset that I had. My dad taught me from the time I can remember, one of the first business lessons that he ever taught me. Toni talked about it this weekend, but my dad, Toni says it differently, but my dad always said it this way: business is good or bad right here. It doesn't matter what's going on out there. More people became millionaires in the Depression as a percentage of the population than we've ever had in the history of our company, at a time where things were insanely bad. They're goofy now, but things were insanely bad. And more people became millionaires during that than any other, as a percentage, than any other time in our history. That's because when people understand this, that it's good or bad here, not out there, because out there doesn't matter. When you've got it going on here, it works. That's why you see, and I'm going to throw me in this category, people like me who have been millionaire, something happened. For me, 2 divorces, and you get wiped out and come right back. This weekend, I was spent some time with just some incredible people, and one of the guys has gone from 0 to 180 million in his business in 4 years, and that's 180 in cash in his business. So that's a business that would scale out pretty close to $1 billion. And he's in the gym business. And people will tell you that's an incredibly low profit margin. That's a tough business to make it in, and blah, 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 blah. Well, he saw a different opportunity because of his vision and staying focused on, hey, you know what? A business is good or bad up here, not out there. And again, grab that book, Focus, because what you focus on grows. I had somebody that saw me last year that had not seen me since then. They were like, wow, you lost a ton of weight. And I said, yeah, I've lost 46 pounds and my goal is 60. So I'm not quite there, but I've lost 46 pounds. And they said, how'd you do it? Because anytime you tell people you lose weight, that's what they want to know. How'd you do it? And I said, 2.3 ounces a day. They're like, what? I'm like, 2.3 ounces a day. I said, that's how I've lost this weight. I've not focused on, I got to lose 60 pounds because that's too big a number. Well, now I'm within 15 pounds of that. I'm not even focused on the 15. I'm focused on what's gotten me to this point and will get me to the end. And I didn't start until March, so I'm going to blow that away as far as the timeline. But that is focused on, I don't have to worry about losing 60 pounds. All I got to worry about is, what do I have to accomplish today that gets me forward to my goal? My goal is there today, and this is math. If you understand, math can solve any business problem out there. That was the math of weight loss. I broke it down. If I wanted to lose 50 pounds in a year, I got to lose 2.3 ounces. What is 2.3 ounces? Nothing. It's skipping a Starbucks if you drank them like I used to, which was with Philly, frilly, silly, frothy, all that stuff. If you drank them like that, you skip one of those a day and it's going to be 2 ounces. So once you figure out the math of the problem, you can break the math down and what do I have to do today? So to become a billionaire, just like to become a millionaire, it's breaking it down. What do I have to achieve this month, this year, this week? But most importantly, what have I got to do today to stay on track and stay focused on that? That's why that book, in my opinion, is so incredibly important. Power of Focus, Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, the guy he co-wrote Chicken Soup with. So he co-authored that with Jack as well. I'm shocked it is not one of the top 10 business bestsellers of all time, because it is an incredibly powerful book, because that's what derails 99% of people, whether it's in their investing, whether it's in their marriage, I learned that too late, or whether it is in their business. It's they don't have focus. I do a thing called just one thing, and today's was about focus today, which I was just cracking up with when I picked it out today. So anyway, we are past.
We are, and you know what, I want to just kind of wrap it up with the final thought, just to change the parameter of what you were saying. A lot of people, they say, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a billionaire, I'm a multimillionaire, whatever it is, and they look at that big picture, that goal down the road, but they don't visualize the steps that they have to take to get from where they are. They just want to take one big giant step. They're like, I want to be a billionaire and I want to do it tomorrow. I want to be a multimillionaire and I want to do it. It's not one step that you can take. Unless you're buying a lottery ticket and you happen to have the winning number, you're not going to get there in one single step. You have to decide what those steps are going to be. And they're different for everybody, but they're the same for everybody, if that makes sense. You have to decide what those steps are, and you have to take those steps or you're not going to get there. That was going to be the topic of our show today, and we just got off, which is fine. We'll do it another day, was education, because Bill and I both believe in education, not just because we're educators, but because we benefit from education as well. We always have something that we can learn. I met with people who I had educated earlier in the week, and again, we'll do this on another show. But you have to understand the direction that you're going in. You have to have that roadmap to get you to where you're going, whatever it is. Somebody recently I had a conversation with about relationships. They have to understand where they want to be in life with that relationship so they can understand the path that they're going to take there. It's the same thing with anything you do in life. Thank you for joining us, Bill.
Unplug.
Okay, go ahead.
10kmonthly.net. 10kmonthly.net. Thursday night, we're doing a webinar, teach you how to get to 10K a month, a huge step. And it's just a step, first step in getting to becoming a millionaire, multimillionaire.
.net. Go to the website, get signed up.
10K monthly. Yep.
And he'll see you there on Thursday. We'll see the rest of you guys here on Thursday as well. Have a good one.
See you now.